What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Gsluke here for our round 1 prize picks targets for this week's FedEx St. Jude Championship. Going to cover what to expect from the golf course here in the first round, what in terms of weather, in terms of what we saw in 2021 from this event, and then at the end, going to cover 3 of the props that I'm taking in my cards here for Thursday's round. Last week was a little bit crazy with rounds ending the next day, starting there in the morning right around 9 a.m. So doing content for the slates was nearly impossible, but on the Patreon side of things, I was still able to give picks, and boy oh boy did we come out on top. Ended up being a $2,000 week for me, so can't complain from that end. Has some extra units heading into the playoffs, and now excited to go ahead and dish those out. So let's go ahead and start with a look at the golf course. First and foremost, TPC Southwind. It's in Memphis. They had been going through a drought over the last month or so, but this week have gotten a torrential amount of rain. So keep in mind some of the numbers we're looking at here are probably going to play a little bit easier. So with some of the rain they've actually gotten a little bit of rain today. We'll look at the weather over the next few days. It's going to rain even more. So greens should be extra receptive, and the scoring average right around a shot under par there in 2021 may actually get bested. So I expect conditions to be a little bit easier. The GIR percentage was 68.4%. So as a field average, it was 12.3 greens in regulation. So with softer conditions, a lot more receptive greens. Expect that to be closer to 70, maybe even closer to 72, 73%. And that is despite the greens around this property only being 4,300 square foot on average, which is well below the tour average, which is closer to 6,000 square foot. So you're talking about small targets, but you're also getting a lot of rain. They're going to be receptive. So with the relative lack of distance at the golf course, I expect the players to be able to take advantage of it. Just to give you an idea of that length, it's placed right around 7,126 yards. So, again, also well below the tour average in terms of length, even though it is a par 70. Driving accuracy, a little bit harder to come by, mostly due to the average width of the fairways, which is well below the tour average, actually 5 yards narrower than what we're used to seeing. And as a result, you can see only 66% of fairways are hit, but much like the greens, also going to be more receptive. So perhaps with players laying up off the tee, with the lack of distance at the golf course, also the receptive nature of them when they're going to be a little bit damp, expect to see higher numbers both with GAR and in terms of fairway percentage. The weather that I foreshadowed, you can see right now there was weather this morning. It rained in the area. Today, actually just throughout the night, they're getting quite heavy thunderstorms. So they're also getting probably an extra half an inch, maybe an inch of rain there. And then tomorrow evening, you're going to see even more weather the whole way into Thursday morning. So it's going to be extremely receptive out there. Even if they try to dry it out as much as humanly possible, you're going to see greens that are going to essentially stick. You're going to see plenty of spin back on them. And I'd expect conditions to be pretty much right for the taking, especially when we take a look at Thursday and Friday here. And there's pretty much no wind to speak of. On Thursday, single digits across the board. Now on Friday, you can see it's a little bit worse. In the morning, it's a little bit higher. We're looking ahead to round 1 right now, so round 2 is a little bit, something we don't have to worry about. But the rain stops, right? And if the rain's not going to be all that bad there on Thursday, they're going to be able to take advantage of these conditions. And even if it sprinkles like it's supposed to in the afternoon there on Thursday, it shouldn't cause them all much trouble, right? It has to be a downpour. If it ends up being a thunderstorm, they won't play through it anyways. So the reason I'm looking at Friday here is if it is a thunderstorm and it's pushed into Friday morning, they're not going to be dealing with all that much trouble anyways, right? It's 6 to 7 miles an hour of wind or 9 to 10 mile an hour wind gusts. So you're looking at a pretty much prime opportunity window to go out there, make birdies, hit greens, post low scores. So I'm thinking that round 1 might be one of the better rounds of this tournament for prize picks because a lot of the board isn't accounting for that. So the first pick we'll talk about is going to be on the stroke side of things, where I'm taking stud world number 1 Scotty Scheffler under 67.5 strokes. And for me, at least the scoring average rate, I'm expecting it to be a lot easier than what we saw in 2021 with a lot of the rain that's coming through. So a scoring average probably close to 1.5, 1.75 shots under par. And then with Scotty Scheffler, the best player in the world, you're talking about somebody who's routinely 2.5 strokes better than the tour average. So you're looking at him probably shooting 4, 5 under par here in round 1, let alone if he goes out there and has a solid performance for himself, which could be something like 6 to 7 under par. It is going to be by far the most gettable conditions of the entire week. And you're also talking about somebody who's teeing off in the morning wave. So not going to be dealing with the quote unquote rain or the chance of rain that's coming in the afternoon, and able to take advantage of the most receptive conditions that they're going to have all week that morning. So I love Scottie Scheffler here. I'm taking him in fantasy formats too. I've already bet him outright. So pretty much in every format that I can possibly get exposure to him this week, I am looking to do so. And certainly with the strokes prop there, it is a way that I'm able to accomplish that. And lastly, we're heading over to greens and regulation. So let's just go ahead and remind ourselves of the GAR percentage, which is 68.4%. That is for the entire field, so that's 12.3 fairways. When you're looking at guys here in Prize Picks, you're looking at the cream of the crop type of players, right? Guys that are a lot better than average, and even guys like a JT Poston, Sahith Theegala, Jason Day, for example, who are at the bottom of this board, are still better than average for this field. They're still like top 50, top 60 players for the FedEx St. Jude Championship. So if anything, pretty much the entire board is mispriced, but particularly the guys here like a Colin Morikawa, a Corey Connors, that are both elite level approach players. Both of them in the top 5 to top 10 routinely in terms of shots gained approach. And if I was going to put in projection on them, I'm not going to give you the exact numbers here. I will remind you, if you want all of my picks, all of my prop analysis, that is on my Patreon page. A link is down below to that. They're well above 13 greens, like well above 13 greens when it comes to their projections. So in fact, there were a few guys at 12.5 to begin the week that it was on a little bit more. Will Zalatoris was one, same thing with Tony Finau. But these type of players, a Colin Morikawa, a Corey Connors, are the same type of guys. So for me, I'm still willing to get there. And in fact, even on to Tony Finau and Will Zalatoris, I'll give you a few of the other picks I'm taking. I would still take the over at 13. I mean, again, elite level iron players that I'm projecting well over the 13 mark, if not closer to 14. Don't want to give it away too much in terms of their projection. I love the guys at 12.5 that fit that same type of description. So love both of them. They're both teeing off in the afternoon, so they do have that working against them. I think that's why a lot of people hammered guys like a Tony Finau who's teeing off in the morning wave. Will Zalatoris is also in the PM wave, so he's dealing with that same issue. But like I mentioned, I don't think it's going to be all that much an issue come the afternoon. If it is, they should still go well over because, again, I'm projecting them a lot closer to 14 than I am the 12.5 number they're at. Just to give you an idea of the rest of the board, birdie or better, I think there's a lot of guys you can take at 4.5 or 4 birdies that make a lot of sense. Up there at 5, I think it's starting to get a little bit tough on them. So that's why I took the Scottie Scheffler under, right, 67.5. If I was looking to take Rory McIlroy or Justin Thomas, I would probably consider going to strokes rather than birdies, just because shooting 3 under is a lot more likely at a par 70 than going out there and making 6 birdies. Birdie or better matchups, I tend to stay away from. I just expect them to be a little bit more volatile, and with how good Prize Picks has gone at making these matchups, just something I don't see a massive edge on. Now, there's a few matchups that I definitely lean, 55, 60% hit rate on, but nothing that's a pure lock, like you see over there for a few of the other categories. We talked about greens and regulation. In terms of fairways, the average is 66.6%. So you're looking at right around 9.3 fairways being hit, which a lot of overs you could take, but it's extremely volatile. You could have an intermediate or two completely derail your day. So I'm not a huge fan of betting fairways to begin with, but if I was going to take some overs, I'd look at the bottom of the board. I'm trying to take some of the guys with a little bit higher fairway percentage than some of their peers. Fellas, that's all I've got for you for round 1. Before you hop on out of here, make sure to smash that like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you haven't already. That way you don't miss any of the breakdowns in the future for rounds 2 through 4. They'll be coming out sometime after the round ends that night. Also, for all of the content in the future, we have plenty of DFS content, course breakdowns for all the venues on tour. You won't want to miss any of it. So best of luck with your slips. Make sure you hit that like button like I mentioned. Thank you for supporting the channel. Let's go ahead and get plenty of cash here for round 1. I'm feeling it.